Hey guys, this is Nathan Datugan, and here's another video for 7A Math. And for this video, we're reviewing 5.2 and 5.3, adding, subtracting, fraction review. Okay, so this will cover adding and subtracting, fractions review. So on your quiz, all be separated in four parts. So let's begin with the first part, true or false question. So here's the first problem. Here we have 1/3 plus 2/3, or in other words, 1/3 plus 2/3 is equals to 3/6. Is this correct? Well, so what happens is you added the numerator together, 1 plus 2, so you get 3, and you added the denominators together, 3 plus 3, to get 6. So if you put them together, you're going to have 3/6. Is this true or is this false? Well, the correct answer is false. Why is this false? Well, it's false because you added the denominators. You added 3 plus 3 to get 6. What is the correct way? You keep the denominators the same. So, since both of the denominators are 3, your denominator should have been 3, not 6. Let's have another one. Here we have 1/4 plus 2/8. Since they have different denominators, we're finding the LCD. And the LCD that is shown is 32. Is this the correct LCD? Well, it's false. Why is this false? Well, 32 is a common multiple of 4 and 8. But 32 is not the least common multiple. What is the least common multiple of 4 and 8? Well, the answer is 8. 8 is the LCM, or in other words, LCD, because we're talking about the denominator. So your LCD should be 8, not 32. That's why it's false. Now let's move on to another true or false problem. Here we have the same problem, 1/4 plus 2/8. Now your LCD is 8. So once we found the LCD is equals to 8, we want to find the equivalent fraction. And in this problem, the equivalent fraction are 1/8 plus 2/8. That is the equivalent fraction of 1/4 plus 2/8. Is this the correct equivalent fraction? Well, the answer is false. Why is it false? Well, let's look at the first fraction, 1/4, and let us look at the equivalent fraction of 1/4, 1/8. We know that the denominator should have changed from 4 to 8, and that is correct. However, if you look closely, the numerator did not change. They are still 1. Is this possible? No, it's not possible, because we're talking about equivalent fraction. If you change the denominator, you also have to change the numerator. So if we're so how did we change 4 to 8? Well, we multiply 4 by 2. So we also need to multiply 1 by 2. So the equivalent fraction of 1/4 is not 1 over 8, but instead 2 over 8. Now, that's why it's false. Now let's try. Now hopefully you are expert at true or false already. Or no, not expert. Hopefully you know how to figure out whether the answer is true or false in your quiz. Now let's move on to truly adding and subtracting fractions. So how do we add or subtract fractions again? Well, first step is you want to check the denominators if they are the same. If they are the same, I want you guys to skip step 2 and step 3. But suppose for now that the denominators are not the same. They are different. So what do? Well, step 2 is you find the LCD of the denominators. Now step 3 is you find the equivalent fractions using the LCD. Step 4 is you add, subtract the numerator and keep the denominator the same. And step 5, you simplify if necessary. Okay? Now let's do some examples. Here we have 2 over 21 plus 1 over 14. We want to follow step-by-step procedure. Step 1, check the denominators if they're the same. Here we have 21 and the other fraction has 14. Are they the same? No, they're not the same. So we move on to step 2, find the LCD. So let's try finding the LCD of 21 and 14. So how do we finding the LCD of 21 and 14? We're going to find the multiples of 21. Can 14 go to 21? No, it can't. So we move on to 42. Can 14 go to 42? And the answer is yes. Yes, it can. So your LCD is 42. Now, we want to change 2 over 21 plus 1 over 14 such that the denominator is 42. So let's start with 2 over 21. We need to change 21 by multiplying it with a number to make it 42. So what number do we need to multiply to 21 to change it to 42? We need to multiply it by 2. And since we're multiplying the denominator, 21, with 2, we also need to multiply the numerator, 2, with 2. Now let's multiply. 2 times 2 is 4, and 2 times 21 is 42. We copy the so now we change 2 over 21 as 4 over 42. Now let's move on to 1 over 14. We do the same steps. We figure out a number that we need to multiply to 14 to change it to 42. In this case, the number we need to multiply is 3. So you also multiply 1 with 3. 1 times 3 is 3, and 14 times 3 is 42. So 1 over 14 became 3 over 42. And look, they have the same denominator. So we can go to step 3. We add. So first of all, let's combine them. 4 plus 3, and we keep the denominator the same. 42 as is. 4 plus 3 is 7, and 42 is 42. So 4 over 42 plus 3 over 42 is equals to 7 over 42. But wait, we can simplify 7 over 42 even further. So first of all, we need to divide 7 and 42 with the same number. In this case, it's 7. 7 divided by 7 is 1, and 42 divided by 7 is 6. So we can simplify 7 over 42 as 1 over 6. Now let's move on to another example. 1 over 9 plus 4 over 9. First of all, check the denominator. They are the same, so we can skip step 2 and step 3. Now we go to step 4, add the numerators and keep the denominator the same. So we're 1/4 plus 1 over 9 plus 4 over 9. We have 1 plus 4 all over 9. So 1 plus 4 is 5, and we keep the denominator the same, so over 9. So what we have is 1 over 9 plus 4 over 9 is equals to 5 over 9. Can we simplify 5 over 9? No. So that's your final answer. Here we have 4 over 9 plus 5 over 15. So first thing first, check the denominator. 9 and 15, they are not the same. So you find the LCD. Let's try finding the LCD of 15. Let's find the multiples of 15. 15, 30. Can 9 go to 30? No. So how about 45? Can 9 go to 45? Yes. So your LCD is 45. So we want to change 9 and 15 to 45. Let's go. Let's start with 4 over 9. The number we need to multiply to 9 to make it 45 is 5. So we also need to multiply 4 with 5. 5 times 4 is 20. And 5 times 9 is 45. Now let's move on to 5 over 15. We need to multiply 15 by 3 to change it to 45. So we also need to we need to multiply 5 with 3. 5 times 3 is 15. 15 times 3 is 45. So now we have 20 over 45 plus 15 plus 45. We simply add 20 plus 15 all over 45. 20 plus 15 is 35, and we keep the denominator the same. So what we have is 20 over 45 plus 15 over 45 is equals to 35 all over 45. Now, is that your final answer? No. Why not? It's because 35 and 45 can be simplified. So, how do we simplify 35 over 45? We're going to divide 35 divided by 5 and 45 divided by 5. Do you have to divide the same number to the numerator and denominator? 35 divided by 5 is 7, and 45 divided by 5 is 9. So we can simplify 35 over 45 as 7 over 9. Here we have another problem. 5 over 10 plus 7 over 10. I want you guys to try this on your own. I'll give you guys 2 minutes. Hopefully you completed the work. Now let's try this together. Here we have 5 over 10 plus 7 over 10. Oh, sorry for the technical difficulties. Let's add 5 over 10 plus 7 over 10. The denominators are the same, so we simply go to step 4. Add the numerators 5 plus 7 and keep the denominator the same, 10. 5 plus 7 is 13. My bad, it's 12. 5 plus 7 is 12. Keep the denominator same. So we have 12 over 10 or 6 over 5. Again, simplify if necessary. Now let's move on. Here we have 2 over 8 plus 3 over 12. Let's not try this one. Let's try some subtraction because I'll keep adding. So let's subtract. Here we have 11 over 14 plus 2 over 7. That's finding LCD. The denominators are not the same. Finding the LCD. Let's use 14. Can 7 go to 14? Yes. So your LCD is 14. So we need to change both fractions such that the denominator are 14. Let's start with 11 over 14. Do we need to change 11 over 14? No. So we can simply copy it as is. Now, how about 2 over 7? Do we need to change 7 to 14? Yes. How? Well, we're multiplying 7 by 2. So we also need to multiply 2 of 2 over 7 with 2. 2 times 2 is 4, and 7 over 7 times 2 is 14. So now what we have is 11 over 14 minus 4 over 14. So step 4 is you add the numerators 11 minus 4. Let me repeat that again. You subtract the numerators 11 minus 4 and you keep the denominator the same. 11 minus 4 is 7 and 14 is 14. So we have 7 over 14 or 1/2. Let me see this one. Yeah, 1/2. Now, your problems, your quiz will also have word problems. 2 in fact. So let's start with the first problem. Here we have in Mr. Townsend's math class, 1/8 of the student receives A, 1/2 receives B. So the question is, what fraction of the student receive A or B? So, first of all, what is the operation we need to do? Well, if you still don't know what operation, think of this, okay? So, suppose um, there's 2 students that receives A on Mr. Townsend's class, right? And then there's and then 4 students receives B's on Mr. Townsend's class. The question is asking how many students can receive either A or B. So the operation we need to do is we need to count both the students that receives A and that receives B's. So if we're counting both, we're combining them, and when we combine things, do we add or do we subtract? We add. So we're going to add the fraction 1/8 plus 1/2. Now let's find, here we have different denominators, 8 and 2. So you're finding the LCD. What is the LCD of 8 and 2? It's 8. Why 8? Well, let's start with 8. Can 2 go to 8? Yes. So your LCD is 8. So we need to change both fractions such that the denominator is 8. Let's start with 1/8. Do we need to change 1/8 to another fraction? No. So we can just copy it as is. Now how about 1/2? Do we need to change 1/2 to some fraction over 8? Yes. So the number we need to multiply to 2 of 1/2 is 4. So we also need to multiply 1 by 4. 1 times 4 is 4. 2 times 4 is 8. So now what we have is 1/8 plus 4/8. Now we simply add the numerator 1 plus 4 and keep the denominator as is. 1 plus 4 is 5. The denominator stays the same, so we have 5/8. So another hint, guys, on your quiz, the word problem is the same in Mr. Townsend's math class, yada yada yada. However, the thing is, the only thing that's different is the fraction part. Okay, I'm not gonna give you 1/8 and 1/2, so be wary of that. However, you're still going to add things together. So if you know how to do this, you should be able to add your what do you call it? Your word problems. Now there's another word problem in your quiz, and this is that one. Copper found 2 worms in the yard. Right? And he measured it with a ruler. One worm is 5/6 of an inch long, and the other worm is 1/12 of an inch long. How much longer was the longer worm? Well, first of all, we need to figure out what is the longer worm. So suppose what I'm suppose imagine an inch, right? If you cannot imagine, you can look at the screen. This is pretend imagining that this is an inch. This is not an inch, but imagine this is an inch. Now 5/6 of that inch is how long is the first worm? So this is the first worm. It's drawing a smiley face on the worm, and then the worm has lines on it, and it's pink, and it's squiggly. So this is the worm A. So this is the first worm, 5/6. And then the second worm is only 1/12. So it's only like this small. It's a bit fatter than the first worm, but it's small. And this is worm B. So first of all, which worm is the longer worm? It's the first worm. And then the second worm is worm B, which is 1/12. The question is not which worm is the longer, but how long, how much longer is worm A than worm B. So what do we do? Well, what is it asking for? Well, it's asking for how, if you compare the size of worm A to worm B, what is the difference? Okay, so this is so if you put them, if you put the two worms side by side, how long, how much longer is the first worm than the worm B? So how do we figure it out? We subtract. We subtract the first length and then with the second length. So what does that mean? We subtract, we have 5/6 minus 1/12, and that's it. We subtract 5/6 minus 1/12, finding the LCD. In this case, the LCD is 12. So we want to change 5/6 minus 1/12 such that the denominator are both 12. So let's start with 5/6. Here we need to multiply 2 to 6. So we also multiply 2 to 5. 5 times 2 is 10, and 6 times 2 is 12. Subtract. Now we move on to 1/12. Do we need to change 1/12? No. Why not? Because the denominator is already 12. So we can just bring it down as is. So we have 10/12 minus 1/12. Now we subtract 10 minus 1 all over 12. 10 minus 1 is 1, 9, and we keep the denominator the same, 12. So we have 9/12 or 3/4 if you want to simplify the fraction even more. And last but not the least, your word problem will have mixed numbers. Okay, so a mixed number, if you already forgot, because this was just a week ago, a mixed number is something with a whole number and a fraction. So an example is 4 and 1/2. That's a mixed number. So when we're dealing with mixed number, we want to change any, and I mean any, mixed number to improper fraction. How do we do so? We multiply the denominator of the mixed number with the whole number part, and then we add the numerator. So for 4 and 1/2, we're multiplying 2 by 4, and then we adding 1 to that. So once again, 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. So our improper fraction is 9/2. So that is your mixed number. So let's have a more problem. Here we have 4. Let's start with 5 and 1/3 plus 2 and 1/3. 5 and 1/3 plus 2 and 1/3. So first of all, change your mixed number to improper. Multiply and add. 3 times 5 is 15 plus 1 is 16. Keep the denominator the same. Now let's go on to 2 and 1/3. Multiply 3 by 2 and then add 1. 3 times 2 is 6 plus 1 is 7. Keep the denominator the same. So we have 16 plus 3 plus 7 over 3. Now, what do we do? Well, since the denominator are the same, we simply add the whole we add the numerator 16 plus 7 and keep the denominator the same, 3. 16 plus 7 is 23 and then keep the denominator the same, 3. And since 23 over 3 is already in simplified form, you can give it to me as is. Now let's move on to another one. Here we have 4 and 1/8 plus 2 over 14. So first of all, we need to change all the mix to improper. Multiply and add. Multiply and add. So let's start with 4 and 1/8. We multiply 8 times 4. 32 plus 1 is 33. So 4 and 1/8 became 33 all over 8 plus, you do the same thing with 2 and 14, 2 and 1 over 14. 14 times 2 is 28 plus 1 is 29 over 14. Now we add. First of all, can we add? No. Why not? The denominators are not the same. So what we do is you finding the LCD. So let's start with, so how do we find the LCD? Find the multiples of the bigger denominator. 14. Can 8 go to 14? No. How about 28? Can 8 go to 28? Well, let's see. No, it can't. So how about 42? Can 8 go to 42? No, it can't. So how about 56? Can 8 go to 56? Yes, yes it can. So your LCD is 56. So you want to change both fractions such that the denominator is not 8 or 14, but 56. So let's start with 33 over 8. The number we need to multiply to 8 to change it to 56 is 7. So the number we need to multiply to 33 is also going to be 7. 33 times 7 is 231. And 7 times 8 is 56. Now let's move on to 29 over 14. The number we need to multiply to 14 should be 4. So we also multiply 29 by 4. 29 times 4 is 116. Just to double check. Yes, it is. So what we have now is 231 over 56 plus 116 plus over 56. So what do we do? Well, we step 4 now. So we add the numerator 231 plus 116 and we keep the denominator the same, 56 as is. Now we simply add 231 plus 116 is 347 and we keep the denominator the same. So 56. So what we have is 304 347 plus 50. Repeat that. So what we have right now is 347 over 56. So that's your final answer. Unless you want to simplify that, that's really up to you. Now, let's try another one, subtraction, and we'll end the video on the final note. So now we have 2 and 4 over 15 minus 4 over 18. So first thing first is you want to multiply the whole you want to change all the mixed numbers to improper fraction. So let's change 2 and 4 over 15. So we multiply 15 times 2, then add 4. So we have 34 over 15 minus, do we need to change 4 over 18? No, we don't need to change 4 over 18. The 4 over 18 is not a mixed number. So we bring it down as is. So if you see that if the fraction is not a mixed number, you don't need to do all of this. The only thing you need to so you first of all, you only change the mixed numbers, okay? So you don't change 4 over 18 to anything because 4 over 18 is not a mixed number. So now what we have is 34 over 15 minus 4 over 18. So now let's find the LCD. So if you do this correctly, the LCD of 18 and 15 is 90. So your end goal right now is you want to change both fractions such that the denominator is 90. So let's start with 34 over 15. So the number we need to multiply to 15 to change it to 90 is 6. So you also multiply 34 with 6. 34 times 6 is 204. And 6 times 15 is 90. Now let's move on to 4 over 18. So here we need to multiply 18 by 5. So we also multiply 4 by 5. So now what we have is 204 over 90 minus 20 over 90. Now we simply add 204 minus 20 all over 90. 204 minus 20 is 184, and we keep the denominator the same. So now what we have is 184 over 90, or you can simplify that as 92 over 45. And that's your final answer. Hopefully with this video, I'm repeating myself. Hopefully with this video, you ace my quiz, or at least get an A, because we covered most of the topics that is going to be on that quiz. So if you watch this video, or if you know how to add or subtract fraction from your heart or from your mind, then you should be able to ace that test. And don't forget, math is easy as long as you prepare for it. I mean, anything is easy as long as you prepare for it. I'll see you again on the next video. I'll see you. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Ding ding. Just kidding. You don't need to do all that stuff. I just want to mess with you guys. Hopefully you learned a lot for this fraction video. I'll see you again Goodbye.